With the deadline for the World Cup squads to be submitted only a matter of days away, today on Football Daily we're bringing you a team of players that you simply won't be seeing at this month's tournament in Qatar. Goalkeeper David De Gea. Goalkeeper is rarely a position of great depth for any nation, but Spain can legitimately claim to have a handful ready to take the number 1 jersey at a moment's notice. Luis Enrique named 5 in his 55-man preliminary squad, including 3 that ply their trade in the Premier League, but there wasn't any space at all for Man United's shot-stopper David De Gea. Athletic Club's Unai Simon is the undisputed starter for La Roja, whilst Brentford's David Raya and Brighton's Robert Sanchez have acted as his deputies over the past 12 months. Also making the initial cut is Getafe's uncapped David Soria, but perhaps most surprising is a recall for Chelsea's Kepa Arrizabalaga, whose return to form has seen a potential join-up with Spain for the first time since 2020. It was October of that year the last time that David De Gea played for his country, confined to the bench since then before being dropped altogether at the beginning of 2022. The 31-year-old's omission here, despite recently putting in a handful of stunning performances, also brings into question his international future. At least while Enrique's in charge, it doesn't look like he'll be adding to his 45 caps. Defender David Alaba. In reality, it shouldn't be a huge shock that Austria failed to qualify for the World Cup, having not made the finals since 1998. Still, they had 2 chances this time around. Das team finished 4th in their qualification group, but had a shot in the playoffs thanks to the Nations League, where a 2-1 defeat to Wales put an end to their hopes. And no one's going to be more disappointed than captain David Alaba. The 30-year-old enjoys superstar status in his homeland thanks to over 400 appearances at Bayern Munich and his continued success at Real Madrid since 2021. Meaning he can add 8 Austrian Footballer of the Year awards to the 31 trophies he's already won at club level. But that's no substitute for failing to get a chance on the biggest of stages, something they would have hoped was possible after reaching the knockouts of last year's European Championships. With 96 appearances, Alaba will likely end his career the most capped Austrian of all time and deserves to play at the World Cup. But now it looks like 2026 will be his final chance to make it happen. Defender Ronald Araujo. As it stands, Ronald Araujo is the only player in this 11 that stands an outside shot at featuring at the World Cup. The Uruguayan suffered a thigh injury during the last international break in September, and while the Celeste have wanted him to rest up, club side Barcelona chose to send him to surgery, putting the centre-back's recovery time at around 2 months. That should have seen the 23-year-old out of contention for Qatar completely, so imagine both club and country surprise when he was included in Diego Alonso's 55-man long list. It just goes to show how essential a 12-time international has become following his 2020 debut, ensuring a solid backline beyond whenever the 36-year-old Diego Godin finally decides to hang up his boots. If Araujo does somehow make the 26-man squad, he's likely to miss out on their Group H fixtures against South Korea, Portugal and Ghana, returning in time for the knockouts, the first of which could be against continental rivals Brazil. But would it be worth the risk to rely on Araujo being healthy at that stage to take away a squad place from someone who could contribute throughout? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Defender Owen Wijndal. One player definitely not heading to the Middle East this winter though is Owen Wijndal. The 22-year-old left-back probably thought his move to Ajax would almost ensure his plane ticket. However, a stop-start campaign so far has seen the ruthless Louis van Gaal, now in his 3rd stint in management of the Orange, leave Wijndal out of his preliminary squad. Wijndal has over 150 Eredivisie appearances at his young age, featuring regularly for AZ Alkmaar since 2017, as well as 11 times for his country, featuring regularly under Frank de Boer during the 2021 campaign. But after missing out on Van Gaal's first squad to injury, he only appeared in an international matchday squad once. It's also injuries this season that have seen Wijndal slip out of contention for the national side, having made just 7 appearances for his new club so far. So instead, it is 32-year-old Ajax teammate Daley Blind, a favourite of the former Manchester United manager Van Gaal, and new Red Devils recruit Tyrell Malacia that will be the options at left wing-back in the regularly deployed 3-5-2 system. Wijndal will have to wait until 2026 for his next World Cup chance. Midfield, Riyad Mahrez. There is a case to be made that the most difficult qualification process for the World Cup actually takes place in Africa. There are just 5 places available for 54 participating nations, and whilst for most making an international tournament is but a dream, over a dozen sides still believe they could do it. Algeria were one, entering the process as reigning AFCON champions, also having made the knockout stages of their last World Cup back in 2014. That edition also saw a 23-year-old Riyad Mahrez enter the international fray, with the new Leicester City winger earning securing his first call-up for the Desert Foxes that summer. 8 years on and 4 Premier League titles, Mahrez is now superstar captain. Even under his leadership, Algeria fell at the final hurdle in March. After cruising through the group stage, they were matched up with Cameroon and thought they'd netted a 118th minute goal to qualify, just for their opponents to break their hearts with a 124th minute winner. As a result, like the rest of us, Mahrez will be watching the 2022 World Cup from his sofa. Midfield, Ngolo Kante. It's hard to feel sorry for the French national team. They're entering this tournament as defending champions and have an eye-wateringly deep pool of talent. Well, that squad depth will prove useful this winter, as whilst it's difficult to conjure up sympathy for Didier Deschamps' side, it's a lot easier to do so for Ngolo Kante. The 31-year-old's injury issues are well known, but even after suffering a hamstring issue during Chelsea's 2-2 draw with Spurs in August, it wasn't expected that the tireless midfielder would miss out on Qatar. However, in October, both player and club decided it was best for the former Leicester man to undergo surgery, adding another 4 months to his recovery. And it's not just Kante that Le Bleu will be without in midfield, as Paul Pogba has also failed to recover from knee surgery in time for the World Cup. But as we said, we can't feel too sorry for them. It's only Real Madrid duo Camavinga and Tchouameni that will likely deputise for the injured pair. Midfielder, Marco Veratti. In 2014, Italy had only failed to qualify for the World Cup once, and are also one of the most successful sides in the competition's history, winning the title on 4 occasions. That makes it almost unthinkable that the current European champions not only missed out in 2018, also in 2022. The Azzurri finished as runners-up to Switzerland in their qualification group, where a Jorginho missed penalty in the penultimate game against the Swiss would have seen them through, before suffering the embarrassment of losing to North Macedonia in the playoff process. This means a host of stars, including Gianluigi Donnarumma and Lorenzo Pellegrini, won't be in Qatar. Chief amongst those misses, though, is Marco Veratti. The 29-year-old made his international debut a decade ago, but thanks to injuries, he has just 49 caps to his name. However, he was coming off his best year with the Azzurri in 2021, starting every game he was available for in both Euro 2020 and World Cup qualification, finally emerging as a key player for his country under Roberto Mancini. It's a shame we won't get to see him at his peak in a World Cup. Midfield, Luis Diaz. The qualification process in South America sees all 10 nations pitted against each other in a round robin, with the top 4 making it to the finals automatically and 5th place entering into an intercontinental playoff. With Argentina and Brazil consistently topping the group, that leaves 3 spots open for the remaining 7 sides to fight over. Ecuador and Uruguay grabbed 3rd and 4th, whilst Peru got to the playoff place, so for the first time since 2010, Colombia won't be competing. This means no Luis Diaz at the tournament in what would have been the perfect end to an incredible 2022 for the Liverpool winger, who's contributed a goal every 150 minutes since his £42 million arrival from Porto in January. The 25-year-old made his international debut in late 2018, and with 37 caps is already a senior member of the squad. But maybe Colombia missing out this year was a blessing in disguise, as Diaz is out until the new year with a knee injury. Let's hope they can qualify in 2026, as it could be the only chance he has to play at a World Cup. Forward, Mohamed Salah. It was a tricky start to 2022 for Mo Salah and Egypt. It began in Cameroon with AFCON, and whilst the Liverpool forward would lead the Pharaohs to the final, he wouldn't have the opportunity to take a penalty in their shootout defeat to Senegal. In March, it would be a case of deja vu, as again they faced Senegal in the World Cup playoffs. 1-1 after 2 legs, it went to penalties, and nominated as the 5th taker, Salah again didn't step up from 12 yards, as their West African opponents ended up triumphant once again. Egypt failing to qualify isn't really a shock. Whilst they did make it to Russia 4 years ago, it was only their 3rd World Cup, with their previous appearances coming in 1934 and 1990. However, the absence of Mo Salah is much more pertinent. The 30-year-old is perhaps the biggest name in African football, even winning the continent's Player of the Year on 2 occasions, and is undoubtedly one of the most supported players on the planet. The World Cup might not miss Egypt, but it's definitely going to miss Salah. Forward, Victor Osimhen. Now, he might not be one of the first names you think of when considering elite strikers, but Victor Osimhen is proving he is amongst the world's best this season. The Nigerian international has hit double figures in each of his last 4 campaigns, and this year for Napoli has already got 7 goals in 8 appearances at the time of recording. No player has scored more in Serie A. The Super Eagles are a surprise omission from this year's World Cup following defeat to Ghana, the lowest ranked nation in this year's competition. Yes, even below Qatar. It means the 23-year-old, who is 15 15 goals in 22 caps will have to wait even longer to lead the line at a major tournament, after missing out on last year's AFCON due to COVID. Osimhen isn't the only Napoli star that won't be making the trip to the Middle East. Georgia's Kvicha Kvaratskhelia and Slovakian international Stanislav Lobotka also saw their nations fail to qualify. But not that Luciano Spalletti will mind too much, his side have a title challenge to maintain as we head into 2023. Forward, Erling Haaland. Did you really think we're going to leave Erling Haaland out of this side? Of course not. The 22-year-old is the hottest striker on the planet, having scored 23 goals in 17 games for Man City this season. His record for Norway isn't half bad either, having found the net 21 times in 23 appearances for the Scandinavian nation, already placing him 8th on the all-time charts. But even he couldn't propel the Lions to their first World Cup since '98. As a pot 3 team, Norway were handed a tough group that featured both the Netherlands and Turkey, missing out despite just 2 defeats all campaign. Maybe though this international cycle was one too soon for Ståle Solbakken young crop of players. Alongside Haaland, his core features Christoph Ayer, Jens Petter Hauge, Sander Berg and Martin Ødegaard, all of whom are 24 or under. Arsenal's Ødegaard has even been named captain, becoming the youngest to wear the armband for Norway since 1916. The nation is certainly set up well for the future, so just keep an eye on Haaland and co heading into Euro 2024 and beyond. So that was our 11 of players not heading to the World Cup. Have we missed anyone out? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.